I'll go just alone. I can't stop scratching my mind. I gotta keep asking why. Stop telling me all the time everything will be fine. I can't stop scratching my mind. I don't know. I'm not your guardian. I can't see through your skin. I'm not your guardian. I can't see through your skin. Can't see through my skin.
Here we go.
Hold on. Deep breath in.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Let's take a woosah moment.
Deep breath in.
Woosah.
Deep breath out.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to We Talk Money. I am your host, Chris Dunn. And I figured we could start off today with a little bit of whiskey to celebrate Bitcoin going on sale.
Yay!
Oh, way to look at it.
I actually celebrated today with a long walk in the woods. Had to take some time away from all the emotion and the crazy craziness on Twitter that we'll talk about. But welcome, guys. Thanks for joining us. I'm joined by my two lovely guests. We got Nikki, certified financial planner, and Travis, former hedge fund manager, turned to the light side or dark side with us, however you want to look at it. Welcome, guys. This show is sponsored by Y Charts, and we will take a look at the economic calendar. There's actually a bunch of stuff popping up over the next couple of days, and then early next week. We've got a lot of news. We'll also dive in and do some on-chain and some off-chain analysis with Bitcoin and talk about what the hell has happened over the past week and specifically today, because yeah, we had some big movement today. There was like as of a couple hours ago, yeah, I think this is still the case. We have over a $13,000 trading range on Bitcoin today. Wild
That's
times.
like what, a 30% range or so?
Yeah.
I mean, depends on where you measure it from.
Yeah,
You measure
yeah.
it from where it started or where it finished, or
Well,
somewhere in
let's see,
between?
from open or like the high of today to the low. Yeah, it was about a 30% dip in one day. And one of my favorite trade setups is when you get a panic of over 30% in less than 3 days. So thanks to
Well,
our...
you got that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks to our amazing exchanges in the crypto space that never crash when there's the first sign of volatility. Yeah, I wasn't able to get the exact low, but I did buy the dip and started buying late last night, or I guess super early this morning, and then bought right down into capitulation, which was fun. So
I BTFD'd a little bit myself.
did you?
Yeah.
Where'd you get fills at?
About 34, 35.
Okay.
So not the low by any means. But,
Yeah.
I was in the mix there for a little bit, little nibble.
Hell
little
yeah.
nibble.
Get it, boy. Yeah, man. Well, listen, let's start by just talking to you guys that are here with us live, or if you are listening to this after the fact. We appreciate it. And I just want to say, I hope you guys are all doing well, that your heads are on straight, that you're okay. I was kind of curious where everybody was at today. So a couple hours ago, I tweeted and I just asked everybody, how are you feeling today? Honestly. And I am happy to report that almost 2/3, about 61 or 62% of people said they are feeling calm and confident.
That's so amazing.
That's very good.
Are these the diamond hands?
They might be. But we've also got about 13% that said they're feeling fear or panic. We've got about 18% that are confused. And then about 7% that said other. And the comments were pretty interesting. I saw a few comments talking about people getting liquidated on margin, talking about having different regrets, talking about just different things they did. They're either proud of what they did over the past couple of weeks with profit taking or trading in and out, or they completely made mistakes. And that's why I always say, like, your number one goal in the crypto markets is to survive. To don't do anything that's going to take you out of the game permanently. And that's where leverage and trading on some of these shitty, unregulated, leveraged exchanges can really get you in trouble, because if there's a flash crash or if there's a washout and you haven't backed out the math of how to manage that risk, you could lose your entire account in one day. And that I've seen that happen over the past, 8 or 9 years, over and over and over again. That's why I keep beating that horse, is like, don't get taken out of the game.
I mean, this just shows, like, especially if you're trading on margin. I mean, the pullbacks and the corrections in crypto are significant. And if you're not prepared for that, then yeah, you are going to be feeling a bit fear and panicky today.
That's why you've got to pre-plan your trades. What are you going to say, Trav?
Well, I was just gonna say, yeah, this caught a lot of newer crypto traders off guard, but for the OGs in the space, you've seen 30% corrections, 10, 15, 20 times over the past decade?
Yeah. I mean, just in the last market cycle in 2017, there was, I believe, 7 or 8 pullbacks of over 30%.
Pull up that Y Charts
Yeah. So,
chart that shows
explain
the
what this is.
actual- if you look at this is the drawdowns from the highs in Bitcoin, and it's comparing the S&P 500 just to show how volatile Bitcoin is compared to the S&P 500
Yeah.
for reference. But essentially, the correction that we're seeing right now in Bitcoin, I wouldn't call it abnormal. I wouldn't call it something we haven't seen before. I would say it could be a lot worse. And this is showing that, A, it could be a lot worse. And we've seen drawdowns, as much as 70 to 90% before. And then we've seen these 30 to 40% corrections often in the past. So, look, I mean, Bitcoin went up and up and up for months on end with no real significant correction. We've been talking about this. We've been pulling up the chart. We've been, trying to warn people that this is something that could happen easily. And this correction is really not, I don't know. I wouldn't call it
it's not a surprise.
It's not a surprise. Yeah, exactly.
You were taking profit last week. You said on the show last week, and you alerted the community last week that you had started taking profit on stuff.
I did, yeah. And I'll go through some of the charts and show where I got out and why, because it was like, I think I actually took profit right before last week's show. And then the whole Elon drama happened like at the tail end of last week's show. So I sent some tweets that I'm going to talk about today, talking about the Elon situation, which I'm so sick of talking about it, but I feel like we need to just say some things this week and then we can let him do whatever he's going to do. But yeah, why don't we just look at the charts, okay? Because no matter what emotion and news and noise and hype and panic and just all the craziness, the price action is truth, right? You can see the reality of the situation in the price charts. So, this is one thing that over the past basically month or two, we've been talking about, which was the fact that we had 6 straight green months, right? And Bitcoin has never exceeded that, right? It's never gone more than 6 straight green months. Pullbacks are healthy, right? So last month in April, basically had a consolidation month, and then this month was the pullback. Now, if we go down to the daily chart, this basically this circle up here around like 55, 56K is where I took a lot of profit. And I sent the tweet storm last week saying why I took profit. And I don't want this to be like a I told you so, but I do think there's some really, really valuable lessons in what I tweeted last week about why I was taking profit, how I think about risk. Because again, I've been through all the market cycles. I know how Bitcoin trades, and I want to help as many newbies do it the right way, because it breaks my heart whenever I hear people reach out. They're like, I just got liquidated and lost all my money, or, I did the exact opposite. You say buy low, sell high. Everybody knows that, but I didn't do that. Why did I not do that? Well, you're in good company, because 90% of people know that rationally, but they don't do it in practice. So we can talk about that. But yeah, today, just wild day. And as of right now, Bitcoin is kind of hanging out around the 200 period moving average. So it got way overextended, had a big rip back to the upside. So I know the questions that we're going to get today are, did you buy the dip? Yes, we did. What do you think is going to happen next? We'll talk about basically the 3 Ps, the possibilities, the probabilities, and then the plans. Not the bad P. The bad P is prediction, right? We don't try to predict. I don't really care. All I want to do is have a plan for the bull case, the bear case, and maybe like the mid like chop case, right? And then protect my portfolio in a way where I can survive and thrive no matter what happens.
Here's what I'm going to say, because I know a lot of people, when Bitcoin was marching its way to 60,000, a lot of new people came into the game that we've all probably spoken with, people we know personally and people in the community and etc. And, there was a lot of hype as Bitcoin was running up into 60K, and you saw all the news pieces. So-and-so says Bitcoin's going to run to 100K. So-and-so says Bitcoin's going to run to 250,000. Yeah. And I think a lot of people probably FOMO'd in at 50, 60,000, thinking that's the price target, not taking into account what could happen on the downside. Yeah. And so a lot of those people, if you are feeling a bit panicky and fearful after going through that, and hopefully you didn't end up, panicking out, just think about the fact that the actual price structure, this is healthy for Bitcoin's long-term movement. This is healthy for the longer term trend. I think especially when you pull up that monthly chart that you had pulled up earlier, I think this really shows how healthy this was for Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I would also say, like, if you look at the counter argument to that is that this was what a over 50% peak to trough dip within a couple trading or within a week or whatever, right? Including yesterday, which was, you know, a pretty severe move.
Yeah.
But I think part of that is because of what happened with the exchanges. I don't know if we would have touched 30 if every single major centralized exchange had gone down in the midst of this, right?
Good point.
When that happens, there's basically no ability for bids and asks to get matched. And so you could get silly prices when something like that happens. So this like nasty wick down that we had, I think a big part of that could have been because of what happened with the exchanges going down.
Yeah, that's kind of the unknown, right? I saw a few theories floating out there today. There was some 4chan post. You guys saw that?
I saw that.
So I don't know. You know, I don't really trust most things on 4chan, obviously, but the person that wrote that obviously was accurate. So the TLDR is somebody predicted, or last night I think somebody said, hey, I'm an insider. We're going to liquidate some big holder. We're going to run it down to 30K and then it's going to bounce, basically. Maybe they did, maybe they don't. They didn't do that. I don't know. I don't really give a shit.
Yeah.
You know, all I care about is what the price chart is doing. Through all the noise, you can see the truth and you can see the momentum, you can see the areas, you can see what's happening on the price chart. And that's where, if things get too noisy, I turn off Twitter, turn off the news, and I look at the chart.
The point is the fundamental reasons for being long Bitcoin still intact for people?
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
isn't that what it's all about?
And
at the end of the
that's
day?
the question I would propose to new folks too, is like, if you were excited about Bitcoin at 60K, why would you not be excited at 30K? If it's on sale 50% and you like the asset, buy the damn asset. Which, that's a good time to say this is not financial advice. We are not your financial advisor. We'll talk about what we do, but please don't blindly follow us.
I hope you're also not following 4chan for investment advice.
Yeah.
I think because one of the things that you see on places like 4chan and Wall Street Bets is there's a cherry picker effect where there are 1,000 bad predictions
Yep.
made every day and every week on those sites, and they don't get any press. But someone makes one good prediction, or someone maybe even has some inside info and they post it and they're right, and then it gets blown up and people start to follow these places.
Yes.
These are the same places that were pushing QAnon theories that Trump was going to come back into office in February.
Yeah.
Right? So let's pump the brakes on the 4chan stuff, people. But that was an interesting post, I will say.
Yes. Yeah. I you know, survivorship bias, right? It's like you have 1,000 predictions and people saying crazy stories. One of them is going to hit pretty accurately, right? So I don't know. I just don't care. You know, we're going to move on and move forward.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think the big thing too is let's zoom out. You know, when in doubt, zoom the hell out. And when you look at a log chart and you can look at, you know, the stock to flow ratio, you could look at exponential growth metrics, whatever. Bitcoin is not dead, people. You know, it's still trucking along. This is a pullback after 6 months of straight green. It should not be a surprise.
How many texts did you get today? Hey, should I buy Bitcoin from friends and family?
Many. That was the point of going on my walk. I just had to turn the phone off and say, like, come on, guys, if you seriously have to ask me by now, that means you're not paying attention.
I'm okay with that. I would rather that than the other way around. People texting when it's at, you know, highs, or like, you know, Doge at the highs and GME at the highs. So I don't know. I say I'm all for it. I
Yeah.
was kind of happy to hear from a few people today. I was like, go you.
Good.
Look at
Yeah.
you dip buying.
Yeah, look at you.
Yeah, if you know, if they're thinking the right way and they're like actually on the right side of the market and not participating in the panic. And that's why I said this. Where's my tweet? So this was my tweet storm from last week. So this was literally a
May
week.
12th.
Yes. A week, a few hours, I think, before our last show, I said, you know, there are only a few days a year where I make major changes to my crypto portfolio. Today was one of those days. I took profit on some of my largest positions. And I went on to explain how I manage risk. And instead of like trying to guess where the top's going to be, I follow what we call my no regrets trade management plan that helps me stay in during bull markets, but also protects the downside. And the way that I do that is I scale out into major profit targets. So when I was buying heavily around the 10K zone, I knew in advance that I was going to be taking profit at 37, at 52, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And, you know, whenever what happened last week is I started to get freaked out by market sentiment because we had a lot of people bragging about easy gains, and it was really reminiscent of 2017, right? And so I just went on to say, like, look, at the end of the day, we have to manage our trades based on three things, I think. The three most important things are, A, your personal financial situation comes first, right? That's why we say, like, don't invest money you can't afford to lose. That's more than just a legal disclaimer. That's good advice, because if you're trying to put money in the markets that you need to pay rent or buy groceries and you lose it, you're fucked, you know, and you're not going to make smart investing decisions. You're going to end up on the wrong side of the market. Number two is the chart, obviously. Pre-plan your trades. And then number three is market sentiment. If you find yourself getting caught up in the hype and the emotion and the FOMO and everybody's just celebrating wins, that's when I get really paranoid, because it becomes a crowded trade. If everybody's in and everybody's excited, who's left to buy? That's the way the markets work. And then what happens? Everybody gets overexuberant bullishness. And then the market crashes because everybody rushes for the exit at the same damn time. And that's why you get those big panic wicks like we saw today, right? Sure, it could have been some fund trying to liquidate people, but I know there were a lot of people rushing for the exit, market order selling as prices crashing. If you find yourself doing that, you want to put a stop to that behavior, because it'll put you on the wrong side of the trade.
You didn't have a plan in that case, period.
Yeah.
There was no trade plan, no investment plan at all.
Exactly. Yeah. So, so what I said today was the best time to buy is when nobody wants to, right? When it's unpopular or uncool, or when it feels hard to buy, that's when you want to buy. Like on dips, right? Or in accumulation ranges. And then you want to sell before everyone rushes for the exit at the same time. So that's why last week, you know, this was the alert that I sent the community. It was basically the right shoulder. We were squeezing and basically starting to put pressure on the 100-period moving average. And I'm like, look, there's a lot of downside risk to the 200 period. I'm like, I think we could see 40K pretty quickly. That's why I took profit on Bitcoin up here at 55. And then Ethereum, my first major target on Ethereum was 2,800. So I took a large portion off there, and then 4K was my second target on Ethereum. And once we started to basically peak and do a over under, I started to take profit on Ethereum up here in the 4,100 area. So in hindsight, I nailed the top of Ethereum, but that's not my goal. I really don't care about catching the exact top. I just care about scaling out and removing risk at my predefined profit targets. Right. Mm-hmm. That, to me, after doing this for so long, that's the number one way I've found to remove guessing and reduce stress and emotion. I don't know any better way to do it.
Well said.
What do you guys think? Any other perspectives on trade management or what you guys have seen in the community? Or, you know, I don't know. That's my opinion, but
man, in the community, I've been seeing a lot of people that I'm just super proud of the way that they're approaching these environments now. You know, they're learning all of these skill sets. I mean, this is a skill set. Trade management is something that you have to put time into learning.
Yeah.
And I think you hit the nail on the head. But there's a lot to there's a lot to learn when it comes to controlling that emotion when things are going so well and you're so in the green and your profit is so there. That's when, like you said, things started to kind of come to you and you started to question, okay, I'm seeing this, I'm seeing that.
Yeah.
And then you started to be a contrarian. And I think that in trading and investing, being a contrarian is almost how you want to be thinking.
Yeah. At inflection points, right? Like, you want to buy when it's really unpopular, but you can be in agreement with the herd for a long time. Like, over the past 6 months, it's been popular to be a bull, but the trend was intact, right? It was healthy.
Exactly.
And things really, over the past 30 days, for me at least on the market sentiment side, hit a fever pitch where I'm like, all these Shiba Inu coins and Elon Doge, copycat shit, and people just bragging on Reddit on these crypto moonshot subreddits. I'm like, these are the people that get creamed, right? Like, they're I don't know. I think we've said enough about it.
Yeah, and I think in addition to that, the technicals, knowing and understanding the technicals were really important for what you did there.
Yeah.
Because it showed, like you said, price is truth.
Yeah. So, okay, what's happened in the past is the past. Let's talk about the future. What the hell's going to happen next? What do you guys think? So this is the way I think about it. I look for a bull case and a bear case. I don't try to predict what's going to happen. The bull case to me is very, very simple. The 200 period or basically the support zone that we're at now holds, and we go for a longer term extension to the upside, right? So if we run a fib extension from basically the 10K breakout zone to the local top around 65K, minus this pullback around 30K, you can see the next 100% extension, which would kind of line up, at least with this trend line, but the next measured move would be up around like the 80 to 85K zone. That's if this pivot low holds. So what I like to do is whenever I buy on a dip, I usually sell anywhere from like a quarter to a half of the dip buy on the first bounce. So if we can get a bounce over the next couple of days, I'll scale out of part of that and remove like part of the cost basis or try to get a free cost basis. So it's basically a free trade. And then if it keeps going, that's just risk-free profit. If it rolls over and makes new lows, then a lot of times if it's a degenerate washout, I'll actually average down. But that's if you have trading capital and you feel comfortable buying into panics. It's more of an advanced strategy because it's harder to do, right? It's hard to buy when price is washing out and it's down, $10,000 in a day, right? You have to have a lot of conviction to do that. That's why I rely on trade setups, right? It's like I backtest the data, I know what works, and I remove my own bias out of that. Mm-hmm. It makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, I mean, and looking at the historical drawdowns of crypto, you could kind of align that and say, okay, here's where we're at. Here's what we've seen in the past. This could end up being a good buying opportunity based on what data we have.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So that's the bull case, right? Is basically, we turn this into a much bigger run retracement and extension pattern, and then we go for further extensions to the upside. The bear case, which I would actually give a fairly strong probability to at this point, because the market sentiment went from complete euphoria to absolute panic in like a week, is basically a dead cat bounce somewhere to prior support that has now turned into resistance and then rolls over and continues to make lower lows and lower highs, right? And that's why on the first bounce, I usually take some profit, because if the bear case plays out, I'm actually going to shift into potentially shorting, right? We can have breakdown setups. There's ways to actually increase your portfolio as prices decrease. So that's a strategy. Or, since I've taken out what I wanted out of the market, I could just be flat basically and hold whatever I'm holding in cold storage in my existing positions and wait for the next cycle. So the on-chain fundamental data, prior to this crash, there was really nothing screaming market top yet, right? But that's why I said, like, market tops don't care necessarily about any single piece of data. There's a soup of all this information that goes in. So just because on-chain data wasn't signaling a top, it still could trap, right? So I'm sticking with my long thesis until proven otherwise. And that would be like a dead cat and then a lower high and a lower low. That would kind of confirm that we're going into an extended bear market. But, I do still think we could get basically a V-bottom bounce. And if we get back above 50K, the DJ might turn the music on again and we could still keep rocking. So see.
Let the price talk to you,
yeah,
and determine what you're going to do after you see more price action.
Exactly.
Basically. Yeah.
I'm still long, obviously I'm not net short, not even close, but I took an amount of profit out of the crypto markets that I'm like, if this goes into a multi-year bear market, I'm good. I've taken this money out, can pay taxes with it, can buy a house with it, whatever the hell I want, right?
Now, let me ask you a question just to go to the other side for a second.
Yeah.
Because I saw a comment in chat about, everything's great in hindsight, right? We're looking back and, okay, you closed, it looks like you timed the top of the market perfectly. But what if the market just kept going and you were wrong in terms of the market rolling over, would you have regretted your decision to take any profit?
That's a great question. And the answer is no. I would not regret it because of my personal financial situation. The Bitcoin holdings it exceeded my comfort level for the percentage of my net worth. When crypto becomes more than like half of my net worth, I get very uncomfortable with that.
Okay.
So
no, great. That I just wanted to get that out of you because
Yeah.
I think that that's a really important point.
yeah. Trav, what's up, man? Sorry, dude. I'm just kind of ranting
you're
about this.
taking it away today.
Yeah.
You're just,
No.
Maybe it's the whiskey.
No, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm just thinking and taking it in, and sometimes the best thing is just to listen, especially to the experts. I don't have a lot to add other than to say that I think, like, looking at a more global macro viewpoint, I think there's nothing that's changed.
Yeah.
With regard to conditions around why Bitcoin's such an interesting asset from an institutional investor perspective, nothing's changed.
Yeah.
So, especially if you believe we're in an inflationary environment for the next 1 to 2 or 3 plus years, then this is an asset that I think is one of the better assets you could have in the portfolio to position against inflation. There's there's data that suggests that it's not correlated to certain other asset classes, depending on time frame, obviously. There's a lot of reasons still to own it, and I think it's funny when price goes down 20 or 30%, which it's done however many dozens of times, and people start to question the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right? It's people that will all of a sudden, now there's a price change 30% and they're questioning the whole Bitcoin ethos.
Yeah.
It's like, calm down. Let's take a step back and
Yeah.
Yeah.
My advice to anybody that's new, like if you weren't around pre like 2017, that's kind of still new because you haven't been through a full market cycle.
Yeah.
Go back and read the Bitcoin obituaries, right? Go back and read all the China FUD, back in, what was it? January 2017. China was coming out basically banning Bitcoin every other week and saying all this shit. Go back and read that and see how price reacted, right? Like there was a video I did like in January 2017 where people were freaking out because Bitcoin kind of crashed like 35% on China FUD. And I'm like, guys, same thing I'm saying today, right? What has changed other than some government saying they're putting restrictions on Bitcoin? Bitcoin is stronger than that. Bitcoin is stronger than any single government, any single billionaire with a cult following, any single person that society puts on a pedestal. It's bigger than that, right? And if you have true conviction in that, then you shouldn't give a damn what happens in the short term to Bitcoin's price. If you're a trader, if you accept the risk and you want to build the skill stack of a trader to grow your gains quicker, that's one thing. But if you just want to be a hodler, right? And this is my beef with people that say, oh, don't trade, just hodl. Okay, yeah, just hodl. But the problem is most people say they're going to do that. They start with good intentions, and then they're the ones that end up panic selling the lows. So I don't care if you're a long-term investor or if you're trying to day trade, the skill stack is the same. It's just harder the more frequently you trade. But also it's hard just to be a hodler if you don't have diamond hands or whatever, right? Like everybody says they have diamond hands and everybody brags on social media, but there's a lot of moon boys that were dead quiet today.
Not Elon. He has diamond hands.
Apparently.
Tesla has diamond hands.
Oh my God. Okay,
He
so
tweeted-
sick of this guy.
So
tweeted
should,
it.
should we
so
should
sick
we
of
go ahead and
hearing
get
this
through
Sorry,
this?
sorry, I didn't
No,
mean
don't be sorry. We want to talk about it.
We have to do it.
But I also just
We
want
have to
say
do
I'm
it and
so
then-
sick of this guy.
Yeah.
I'm so sick of
Between
it.
him and Cathie Wood, we've had enough.
I'm sick of her too. I'm sick of her. I'm sick of Chamath. I'm sick of Elon. I'm sick of all the people that everyone else seems to be worshiping over the past 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a long storied history with Elon, so I'm in my own grouping here.
Yeah. Look, all right, let's do it. We're going to have a 2-minute, let Kevin start the timer. I don't know, 2 minutes. We're going to talk about Elon, and then hopefully we'll never talk about this guy again. Look,
I'm sure we
let me
will.
just start by saying Elon is probably going to have a bigger impact on the planet and humanity than I ever will. Let's start with that, all right?
Abso-freaking-lutely.
I'm not an Elon hater, but I don't put this guy on a pedestal and think he's some kind of god, all right? So here's what happened. during the show last week, on the live show at the end, people were like, oh, in the chat, they were like, hey, Elon just said, Tesla's no longer accepting Bitcoin. I'm like, that can't be true. Well, it was true. And, Elon gave his reasons, which I think are bullshit, or at a minimum, misguided. So, I was really excited about the Cybertruck. But I thought about what he did on Saturday Night Live, and I thought about what he said about Bitcoin, and I'm like,
pumping Doge.
And pumping Doge, right? Like, I cannot support this guy. So I canceled my Cybertruck order, which was sad. I wanted the Cybertruck, but, I basically made some comments here where I said, Elon said Tesla's going to no longer accept Bitcoin as payment because it, quote, comes at a great cost to the environment. I said, this is incorrect and disingenuous. I can't support somebody who pumps altcoins to uninformed people on TV and then claims Bitcoin is the problem. I hope Elon and Tesla rethink their stance on Bitcoin. Until then, please cancel my Cybertruck order. This kind of went viral. I got 30,000 likes and I think 1,500 or 1,600 comments. And about half of those comments were people telling me shit like, Elon doesn't care about you. You think you matter. Oh, thanks for canceling. My order just got bumped up, right? Stuff like that. But there are also some really thoughtful comments. And I think a few dozen other people that also canceled their order. And it just got me thinking about what is his true intention? I don't think he did that. This is my opinion. I don't think he did that to manipulate price. I think he probably believed his own story, but there was a thread on Reddit where somebody was pointing out that Elon has this complex where he needs to feel like the founder of everything, right? Like he needs to be the guy driving the ship, and he missed out on Bitcoin. And he looked at Doge as something that he could take over and basically make his own. Hence the name, the Doge Father, right? Like it's literally an ego trip for him. And there were so many, obviously by now, everybody that's on crypto Twitter knows the story. Everybody that has an opinion is not going to change their opinion based on anything I say, right? But I'm still going to voice my opinion that he's wrong about the environment, right? That has been clearly debunked. And I just think it's wrong what he's doing and how he's approached it. At a minimum, it's just his timing is suspect. But even with that said, I don't think he's intentionally trying to crash the price. And then today he comes out and says, oh, we have diamond hands, right? So he's just flip-flopping all over the place. What do you guys think?
This is a man who, in front of the world, faked a buyout of his own public company. He committed securities fraud in public view. He lied.
Funding secured.
He lied
yeah.
about buying out a public company as the CEO of a public company, a multi-billion-dollar public company, right? So this is a man who I have not trusted for numerous years, for a long time. And now the crypto world is figuring out what we on the stock side knew for a while, which is for all the good that Elon has done for the world, he is a very flawed person.
Yes.
And he is someone who over-exaggerates and will outright lie. And it's like you said, the frustrating part about it is that he has this microphone. He has this megaphone to the world. And he has this big following. And he could use that following to show the world how to act and to show the world and to lead the way in something like cryptocurrency. Instead, he flip-flops around on what he truly believes about Bitcoin. He endorses a project that isn't really supported by a development team.
Right. He lies and says he's working with a development team that does not exist.
Exactly. So these are the things, in addition to the things that he does, like saying there's going to be 1 million robo-taxis on the road by the end of 2019 or 2020, right? And, claiming that Tesla's 10 years ahead of everyone else in autonomous driving when it's just not true. Sometimes I think he does this just because, hey, he's on Twitter and maybe he's had a little bit too much to drink. Sometimes I think it's because it's nefarious. With the Tesla faked buyout, he did it because the stock price was going down and he wanted to control the narrative, and he didn't like that short sellers were talking bad about it, right? So Elon is a very complicated man. What I want people to, what I hope is that people will use what's happened over the past couple weeks as further reason to not worship this person. Yeah. Because for as much good as he's done for pushing forward EVs into the world and promoting certain causes in the world and trying to, take space travel to the next level. He is a person who also can do a lot of bad for the world. And so we shouldn't be worshiping him as if he's just infallible.
Yeah.
Let's look at what he's done. That's good. And give him credit for that. But let's also, be smart about not just blindly following him as if he were a cult leader and just believing anything he says.
Amen.
I think he's no dummy, though. I think he realizes and he's seen what he can do with Tesla stock. I mean, he got people to love him so much that now there's this essentially cult following of Tesla, right? And people were buying it at any valuation, and he saw what people were doing there. And I think that he kind of knows how to talk to his audience, his people. And I don't think he's dumb. I think he knows exactly what
he's a
doing.
great marketer, and that's a good thing to do if you use those powers for good and you don't blatantly lie to people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think maybe what Elon needs to do is just step back sometimes from his phone and from Twitter, and also just think about some of the things that he's doing. Like, he's jumping into crypto and he's jumping out and he's jumping back in, and he's sending mixed signals. Like, you're a leader of multiple large companies and seen as a leader of a movement in the world. And so, like, you need to be a little bit more thoughtful about how you communicate to the world, right? I mean,
100%.
I know that's why people love him, is that he just is off the cuff and he'll say weird shit and he'll post memes, and that's all good. But when it comes to, serious things, especially when it comes to things that could actually get you in trouble for securities fraud, you probably need to chill out and, like, maybe take a step back, right?
As the CEO of a top 10 S&P 500
like, be an
corporation,
adult, right? Be an adult.
I mean, there's a responsibility there, I think.
Yeah.
And look, let me also say, like, I'm not shitting on the Dogecoin community or anybody that's trying to be supportive of that. Like, I think currency competition and competition specifically in the crypto community is great. Aside from the tribalism and the infighting and the mudslinging, it's like, we're all in this together in a way of, like, trying to solve the problem of, like, the next generation of money and value and store of wealth, right? I think one of the main reasons I do this show and the education and the wealth building community is to help people that are new just not get slaughtered or get, as Rocky, aka Crypto Hustle, says, don't get fundamentaled, where you look at a project and you say, oh man, their supply is this, or their leader is this, or they get so narrowly focused and tribal on a project where they basically have blind spots about their own bias, and then they either over allocate to an altcoin that goes to zero, or they capitulate and they panic sell. There's a lot of things that can go wrong in the crypto space as an investor. It's a high growth space, but if you approach it and you're undisciplined, sharks will take your money. Be it, hackers or exchanges that shut down and flash crash you and liquidate you and you don't know what happened, or just professional traders that know how to counter trade your emotions, right? Like, we're dealing with one of the most profitable and the most fast growing spaces in the world, and that attracts a lot of capital and a lot of eyeballs and a lot of talent. And I think it's good for the growth of where we're going for humanity, but I just really want to help new people not get ripped to pieces.
Or just learn how to think pragmatically.
Yeah.
You don't have to be so extreme on one side or the other. That is what gets you in big time trouble when it comes to trading and investing, period.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, we got through the dreaded combo of Elon.
We went over our 2 minutes.
We did. Okay. We're done with him for a while.
Rant over.
Yes, rant over. So hopefully by now you guys are up to speed on the possibilities and the probabilities of, Bitcoin and just the crypto markets in general. Let's also talk about what else is happening in the world. Actually, before we do that, I'll just mention Cathie Wood, aka the ARK investor lady, said that she has not changed her view and that Bitcoin is still headed to 500K. The only reason I'm bringing this up is as an example of somebody who, at least public facing, has not lost her conviction in the Bitcoin thesis. Which, you know, I actually liked her comments. I watched the little clip from where she was on TV, and she said, look, you know, we like Bitcoin. We look at this as a capitulation event where weekends get knocked out, and we're still bullish. And I respect that.
I mean, we all agree with that.
Yeah.
Right?
What? Yeah, but I don't know, Trav, you look like you're holding back there.
I mean, I don't know who I'm less of a fan of, Elon Musk or Cathie Wood. I'll be straight up honest with everyone. I do not like these two people.
The problem is this is like politics.
Right.
Elon and Cathie Wood are like Republican versus Democrats. It's like if you say one thing, you know 50% of the people are going to hate you for saying it.
Right.
So you can't win.
But the good news is every single person that's watching the show right now is pragmatic and not emotional at all. So give us the reason why you're not a fan of Cathie.
Well, I just think she's ridden a wave of momentum stocks and that people think she's a genius and she's not. I think, you know, I've talked about on some past episodes, when you look at the research that ARK has done on certain stocks, it's really poor. But really, I think in the last month, she's lost a lot of credibility, just people watching her portfolio moves.
Yeah.
She's trading her she's trading her investment funds as if it's like a day trading vehicle.
It's pretty wild.
For someone who supposedly does all this research on long-term investing themes, she's sure churning in and out of a lot of stocks like over and over. She'll be buying, you know, one stock one week and then be selling it the next week. And look, I have positions where I change my mind and the investment thesis changes and I sell them.
Yeah.
But I don't buy them one week, sell them 1 week, and then buy them the next week again, right? Which is what she's doing with a lot of her positions. There's also some questionable stocks that she's built pretty decent-sized positions in. So, you know, I think people are starting to wake up to this. They're starting to see that a lot of her performance over the last couple of years was just basically owning a basket of high momentum, high beta stocks, and she's gotten crushed in the past couple of months because all those stocks have moved down together.
Yeah. Is it ARK?
ARKK.
ARKK is the main fund, and then she's got some other ones, right? ARK's got some other ones, but I think the jury's out. You know, I'm impressed by the fact that she markets herself and her firm very well. They've done some innovative things. I think you have to give them credit for some of the performance that they've generated. But I also think that the people that believe that she's some secret genius are wrong. I look at the research that they do, and I don't think it's that in depth. I look at the trading that they do, and I don't think it's very informed.
Yeah.
So again, it's another one of these people that I don't think should be. I don't think people should be blindly following her as some guru that knows every single thing, you know, about everything.
Yeah. And by the way, we have quite a few people on the live stream. So for anybody that doesn't know Travis or why he's qualified to talk about this, he has over a decade in hedge funds. You grew a fund from like 100 million to over $1 billion in assets. Like, you know your shit. And you've seen the charlatans in the professional management space, and you know how to see through a lot of those, like smoke and mirrors, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think ARK, like I said, I think they're doing some interesting things. I think they've innovated in some really important ways in terms of a ETF family of funds that is being marketed well to individual investors for the first time since probably like Janus back in the .com bubble. Like all the other fund families are frankly kind of boring. I think you would probably agree for the most part, right?
Yeah.
And they actually brought some excitement
chill.
back to the space. So like, again, I give them credit, but I think they're not the geniuses that a lot of people believed them to be 3 months ago. And I think we're finally all seeing that.
Look, they were positioned perfectly for what 2020's market environment brought us.
Yeah.
I mean, literally a monkey could have made money in 2020. Everybody was making money in 2020.
Yeah.
And her portfolio did what it did because those stocks were just so hot.
Yeah.
And I mean, look, I don't dislike Cathie. I don't want to own this ETF, especially after seeing some of the trading history. I especially don't want to own it. It's there are not everything in there's quality, and she seems to be selling the quality for the kind of lower quality. And will that come back in favor in the future and rip higher? Maybe, who knows? But I know that our strategy is we try to make sure we own quality companies that we believe can survive.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that her trading lately has been a bit suspect. I don't know. Would you agree?
Just getting
Yeah.
too active, or what's the
Yeah,
problem?
it's almost yes.
Churn and burn. The whole portfolio is just turning over massively. It's, you know, it's just strange some of the moves that they've
It's
been
like
making.
she was selling Tesla and then she bought back Tesla. She sold Apple and bought Workhorse.
then sold Workhorse.
And then
Yeah,
sold
it's like-
Workhorse.
and Workhorse is a dog shit little company.
I don't know. They were
frankly, like,
definitely-
well, I'm just being real, but
Yeah.
but yeah, it's strange, right? It's very
Yeah.
strange. And look, I will say this. So she puts out the stuff on Bitcoin, 500K price target. I think we should be asking, one of the questions we should be asking there is on what time frame? Because I certainly believe there's
That's a possibility.
possibility for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
But it also is, the question is it in a decade from now or is it 3 years from now? You know, what kind of time frame are we talking? But I do think she and her team do a good job of identifying some longer term secular themes that I think are really good. And she talks about, they have a genomics fund, for instance. And I think that's spot on, because I think what we're about to witness in cell therapy and gene therapy, we saw what happened with mRNA with the COVID vaccines, right? It's opening up all kinds of possibilities. In the next 5 years, the genomics space and the proteomics space is going to be unbelievably interesting, and there's going to be an explosion of things happening. So they identify that trend, and they say, we want to have an ARC genomics fund.
Yeah.
Genius. Smart. Absolutely, you should. It's super smart. But don't trade in and out of your positions every day. Identify 10 or 15 really phenomenal companies. Stick with them. Don't churn and burn them.
Yeah. Man, the turnover in that portfolio. Woo! Woo! I don't even want to know.
Talking about turnover and churn and burn, this was a news piece I think one of you guys added to the show notes. Fidelity to pitch America's teens.
Yeah.
No fee brokerage accounts. What do you guys think of this? There's some 27 million teens in the U.S. and several million households already have an account with the wealth manager. So they're basically, are they trying to front run like Robinhood?
Yeah, they're trying to get a piece of that pie.
Yeah,
Of
dude.
course. I posted this because the reason for it was I noticed a lot of people on Twitter were commenting against it. And they were like, no, this is the stupidest idea ever.
Yeah.
So I figured this would be a pretty good conversation. Personally, I think, obviously, if I was a parent, this is a parent monitored account. So it's under the parent's account, and the parents are seeing all of the trades that the teen is making.
Yeah.
I think that this is a great opportunity to introduce children young and have open conversations as parent and child, have something that you can bond over, you know, you're learning together or
Yeah.
you're teaching your child if you're experienced.
So how does it work? You can, like, as a parent, you can give your kid a certain amount of money and then give them the ability to log in and actually
Yes.
trade their own account.
Yes.
That's dope.
So
that's really cool.
I'm sure that I know Fidelity mentioned they're putting into place education around it.
Okay.
So the child will have, I say child, I should say teen.
Yeah.
Will have the ability to learn from whatever education they end up putting in there. So it's meant to be a learning experience.
Cool.
I don't know exactly what the limitations are going to be with the trading. Like if there are settings you can put that the teen can only make a trade that's worth over a certain amount of money or certain tickers, or I don't know, but we'll find out. But I don't think this is a bad thing.
What were the negative comments? Why were they saying it was
Basically,
bad?
the kids are going to blow up their accounts.
Well, probably. But like, as we all did in the early days, you have to do that. When you get into the markets, you know, the worst thing a new trader could do is win their first trade. If you win your first trade, especially as a teenager, I did that, right? Like, I was like, I'm a genius. I'm going to be a millionaire tomorrow. And then like 2 weeks later, the account's gone. You're like, oh, this isn't that easy.
And I'm sure that's why there's going to be controls put in place so that they can't fully blow out their accounts, and the parents will see if they take a dumb trade or something like that and be able to sit them down and have the conversation.
Yeah.
Or parents can just have some kind of setup to where they do talk with the teen before every trade, and okay, yeah, sure, that's your thesis, go ahead.
Lesson number one.
I don't know, but I think that, go ahead, lesson number one.
No, lesson number one should be what to do when you blow up your account, and be like, you probably will. Like, if you go into this too cocky, you have to learn that the odds are not in your favor when you start.
Here's the thing, though. kids are really, really good at recognizing trends. They know what's hot. They're going to be
True.
investing in things like Nike, Roblox, Lululemon, American Eagle. They're going to probably be investing in things that they use.
Right.
That's what kids most likely do. And so I think that they could end up outperforming their parents for all we know.
That would be what if there's a new hedge fund where it's like
Teen Capital.
Teen Capital, 13 to 17-year-old
Yeah.
traders. I love it, dude.
Look, I don't know. I'm sure that there's some downside that you can find with this, but
Yeah.
I think for responsible parents that want to teach their children about investing young, because guess what? The earlier you start, the less you have to put in retirement over your whole, entire life.
Yeah.
Compound interest works for you. I think that there's a lot that could be done for good with this.
Absolutely. I mean, look, I got started in the stock market in high school through a competition, like a trading competition. And I'm like, it was fake money, but it got me started and it led to where I am today. So I think the more people we can get access to financial markets early on, let them make all the dumb mistakes with small amounts of money. They're going to be better investors by the time they like graduate college or something. So I'm all for it.
Yeah. Or their parents might teach them, hey, put it in an S&P 500 index fund. I don't know. You know, it can go many, many ways.
Absolutely. All right, cool. Let's talk about the vid. So was it last week we talked about the India variance and the bear case and maybe how to protect the portfolio against, like a runaway variant from India that basically gets through the vaccines. Looks like the current vaccines are at least as of today, able to block the variant. So hopefully that long tail black swan risk is lower, right?
My puts went to zero.
Hey, nice.
Hey, the market was still selling off last we looked.
So what happened? You put on a hedge against the
so
portfolio?
a couple of weeks ago, I put on a small hedge, very small hedge. Like I had some puts on the airline index, and I did also short some index futures. The index futures hedges are actually profitable, not because of the Indian COVID variant, but because the market's been dumping a little bit in the past 2 weeks. But
Did you short the S&P or what would you short?
yes, yeah, the S&P on the index short side. Now on the put side, it was less than 1% of the portfolio in the airline index, the Jets index.
Oh, okay.
Just as a tail hedge, the thinking was, look, this hedge is probably going to zero, but at that time we didn't know if the Indian variants were going to get past the vaccines or not, and if they did, then we could have global shutdowns again, and that those puts could have been a 20 to 30 bagger, which would have protected the portfolio from a massive market downturn. So
Well, that's good
luckily,
news.
it's actually good. It's actually a good thing. I prefer for hedge situations, tail hedge situations like that, where the tail hedge actually expires worthless, and then the portfolio just keeps chugging along. And so that's all good.
It's basically like you pay for insurance in the event that this really low probability but super bad thing happens. Your portfolio is somewhat protected, but you're not speculating. You don't want to make money on that situation, right? You're not going to be net profitable.
Right. Yeah. So. Yeah, spent a little bit of capital that got burned up on that insurance, on that tail hedge, and that's good. Like I said, I'm actually glad to see that the Indian variants, at least from the data that we have, the studies we have so far, are suggesting that the vaccines will be able to have effectiveness against us. So
Awesome.
Effectiveness against them. So yeah, hopefully the world is still on the march to more of a herd immunity by the late part of this year in a lot of countries, and we can actually start to get back to normal.
Yeah. I mean, all I know is here in Texas, it feels like we're back to normal.
Totally.
I mean, people are out, restaurants are open. I went to the bars and they were packed.
Yeah.
Felt weird, man.
Yeah.
Felt weird.
Yeah.
But I love it. All right, let's do some Q&A, guys.
Sometimes I feel like people don't think we can read the comments. Like, I've seen some pretty, occasional mean comments come through about Travis and I, and I'm like, people are crazy.
Man,
No.
y'all are harsh.
Yeah, y'all are harsh, man. Some of you are great, though.
Most people are cool. There's always that one guy in the room that's like,
do
I'm
they-
going to be that douche.
Do they think we can't see it?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just funny.
All right.
Be kind. See this heart? Be nice.
Yes, the life's too short. And by the way, one thing I'd like to say, just because I know we have some people on here that aren't normally here, life is not a zero-sum game. Somebody doesn't have to lose for you to win. Like, we can all get wealthier together. Like, there's this combative attitude in the crypto community sometimes where it's like, no, Cardano is the shit. No, EOS is the shit. No, Bitcoin is the only money. It's like, guys, we can all actually provide value to the world and get wealthy. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just felt like saying that.
Good.
Cheers.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's do some Q&A. What questions you got? Let's do it.
Hit us with the tough ones.
All right. Everyone talks about diamond hands, but what about diamond mentality? What is the best way to train your, I guess, brain to pull the trigger more easily? That's a great question. I love that question. What do you guys think? How do you train your brain to pull the trigger more easily? I have a quick answer. If you have predefined trade setups and you have a trade plan and you know what criteria will catapult you into a position, that's the easiest way.
Exactly.
When most people approach the markets, they look at price action, usually on too small of a time chart. They're looking at like an hourly chart or less. And they're like, all right, price is going up, let me buy. Price is going down, let me sell. But at the end of the day, if you can't quantify your edge with back testing and you don't, it's like if you go to the casino and you're just randomly throwing cards on any game, you're going to lose. The casino has an edge, so they win over time. As a trader, I would ask, what's your edge? You don't know? You don't have one. So start with that. That's what we talk a lot about in our community is how to find an edge and how to quantify that and do back testing and create a trading plan. What else? What gives you? So Travis and Nikki, so Nikki started as like a day trader and then your hold times got longer as you learn more from Travis. Travis is a fundamental longer term guy. What gives you the confidence to pull the trigger on longer term stuff?
A big part of it's just portfolio management and position sizing. So having a really well thought out strategy for position sizing and portfolio management makes a big difference because I can take, like we were just talking about those tail hedges that I put on, and I sized those appropriately, and I knew that the most likely scenario was those were going to zero. Yeah. And that's fine. And I'll take trades where, you know, it'll be an option like trade where, for instance, the Fannie Mae preferreds, TBD on that one, but there's still 4 to 5x upside. There's also a pretty decent sized probability that those things get cut by half or more. So how do I size those? Well, I don't size those at 50% of my portfolio or 100% of my portfolio. I don't go leverage into them. So I size them at, you know, a single digit percentage of the portfolio, right? So that lets me sleep at night. I try to also put together a portfolio with things that are not going to be totally correlated. We were just talking about Cathie Wood and ARK funds a little bit ago. And the reason those funds are down 40% year to date is that all of her stocks are so highly correlated together. I try to put a portfolio together where at least different parts of the portfolio are not correlated to one another. So in any market environment, I'm not seeing 30, 40, 50% drawdown on the entire portfolio. So those are the types of things that help me sleep at night, to help me keep a smoother growth of the portfolio over time. I'm not going to be the guy on TikTok that turns, you know, his portfolio 100x. I'm not going to 100x my portfolio in a year or two. But, you know, if I can compound it 20 to 30% a year for 10, 20, 30 years, my grandchildren and their children will be fine.
Powerful.
Yes.
So, yeah, so that's kind of how I approach it. Is just a little bit more of a, I guess, more of a institutional type of mindset.
Yeah, I mean that's what helped you turn, or not you personally, but your fund helped grow from 100 million to $1 billion, right? Like if you have that mentality of like you begin with the amount of capital that is your goal capital. That's why I tell people like in crypto, assume you have the amount of money that you want and manage that successfully. Don't think like I've got $500 to my name and I need $1 million by Wednesday, because you'll lose that 500 and you're out of the game.
Yeah.
Have that mentality and you'll get truly wealthy.
Yeah.
And knowing when to pull the trigger without having to ask yourself too many questions. It's a lot of planning ahead. So like I know on the trading side, like the swing trading side, it's all technical for me. I have my technical setups. I know exactly what I'm looking for. I know exactly what kind of risk to reward I want to see in a technical setup. If I don't have it, I don't take the trade, period, right?
Boom.
And then if it's on the fundamental side where I'm actually trying to buy a company at a certain valuation, I'm doing the research for sometimes months before I even take a trade on it. And I know exactly what market cap I want to buy the stock at. I know, and basically that's how I know I want to get in is, I wake up one day, price is down 20, 30% on an earnings miss or something like that. And I look at the report and I say, okay, this isn't that bad. I think the market's overreacting. This is a great price. Boom, I buy. So it's mixing. I know for Travis, you're very fundamentally driven. And, when you're looking at that, you know exactly what you want because you've planned ahead for it. So, and then the technicals is really just having trade setups that you know to look for.
It's a great point. Like when you have the fundamentals, especially on the stock side, where we have things like cash flows and balance sheets and
Earnings. What are those?
Exactly. Yeah, we get quarterly check-ins from our companies, right? So we shouldn't be that surprised in most cases by what's going on. And so if a stock sells off with the market, or there's one bad news event, but the longer-term trajectory is intact, we can be okay buying a 30% drawdown on that stock because we've done the work. We're comfortable with what's happening. We're looking out on a longer term time frame and just experience.
Yeah.
Being in this game for 20 years now has given us a bit more confidence, a bit more ability to ride through the emotional sine wave and to be able to not be afraid of buying dips or not be afraid to sell when everyone else is FOMOing.
Or buy degenerate red candles, as Rocky would say.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Experience, yeah.
All right. Siraj was asking, how does the environmental concern narrative affect the institutional investor as they would not want to add to it or add it to their balance sheet anytime soon? So I think the environmental concern has been twisted and either deliberately or accidentally turned into something that is a fallacy. I don't want to defend the Bitcoin environmental argument right now. We don't have enough time, but there are some really smart guys on Twitter that have talked about this at length.
Like Nick Carter and...
Yeah, Nick Carter, Dan Held. There's several of them that have done deep analysis. And even, I think Cathie Wood said, the environmental argument is bullshit. Yes, it uses energy, but at the end of the day, what is more important than securing the most valuable monetary network? And, you could make an argument, oh, China uses coal. Yeah, for now, Anyway, I don't know that institutional investors would steer away from Bitcoin because of that. Do you know of any ESG funds that would do that?
I mean, yeah, I think there's some that would shy away from it.
But it's misguided, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or do they have to put on a face for their LPs?
Look, I think the whole ESG thing is a farce. So I'm probably the wrong person to ask about this.
For anybody that doesn't know, what is ESG?
ESG is I guess you could call it a movement, but also a category of principles that companies are trying to follow so that passive ETFs and other institutional investment funds will invest in those companies. ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance. And so it's basically a set of principles that companies try to follow to make sure that they're doing the right thing for the environment, for their shareholders, and for their stakeholders. That all sounds good as a soundbite. The problem is no one can agree on what ESG principles are and how companies implement them. Companies will get put into ESG ETFs or indexes despite being some of the worst offenders of some of those policies. So it doesn't really...
It's like a marketing buzz, right?
Exactly. Yeah. To me, it's just a lot of marketing hype right now. And I don't think a lot of the companies that are trying to position themselves as ESG friendly are actually ESG friendly. But it has real consequences because, again, there's dollars that are being invested into companies just because they are seen as either ESG compliant or not ESG compliant.
Yeah.
So as far as it relates to Bitcoin, again, I'm not the expert, so I don't know. I think, to answer your question, I think that there are some companies that will shy away from putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet because of ESG concerns. At some point, perhaps Bitcoin is given the ESG. I don't even know who is the
Me.
authoritative body.
I herein give Bitcoin the ESG stamp of approval from the Institute of Chris Dunn. Boom, there it is. All right, all you ESG hedge funds can invest in it now. You're welcome.
Because you could make the argument, right? You could make the argument that the G in ESG, the governance side of it, that you should have a decentralized governance scenario like with Bitcoin, where you have things that are on a public blockchain where there's transparency that actually does meet the G category, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I mean it's saving
Helps
lives
bank
around the
the
world.
bankless.
Yes, what is doing better than Bitcoin in the world? Like a lot of people that live in the West, I feel like we've talked about this a bunch, but I'm going to say it anyway. People in the West are insulated against really needing Bitcoin for its intended use, right? We have credit cards, we have bank accounts, we have Apple Pay, all that shit, right? But in Myanmar, right now, people are dying under the hands of a really terrible government. I literally sent Bitcoin to a guy over there. He was able to liquidate it, get funds for food, and pay his employees. Without it, he would have been screwed. That's a real case example of how Bitcoin is literally saving lives. And that is happening all over the world thousands of times a day. So anybody that says that Bitcoin is harmful to the environment or whatever, I think at best those ideas are misguided. And at worst, they're manipulative and just untrue.
I'd like to spend some more time reading about the environmental impact estimates. I know that a large part of the mining network is based in China, and obviously China is a significant user of coal, but China also is sort of leading the way in terms of new nuclear facility construction, and I think they could be an interesting case study in how countries transition to their energy sources. They're also very committed to solar deployments as well. And in fact, most of the major solar manufacturers are now based in China, with the exception of SunPower and First Solar, I think.
Yeah.
But I do think where it stands today will be very different than where it is 10 years from now.
Yeah. I think within 5 or 10 years, this is a non-conversation.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's moving towards renewable energy eventually.
Yeah.
But also, Elon knew about the environmental concerns around Bitcoin before he even put it on the balance sheet. Yeah.
And said that they'd accept Bitcoin.
There's a tweet. He replied to a tweet 4 or 5 months ago.
Yep.
About this.
Yeah. Somebody said, Bitcoin encourages, what was it, clean energy use or something like that.
And he agreed.
And he said, yeah, indeed, it does. Yeah. So that's why I'm like, I don't trust him. He's blatantly lied several times to the public. Many
I don't
times.
know. Maybe they were. Yeah. Maybe the ESG funds were threatening him or something.
I think
maybe they were threatening that they were going to take Tesla out of the funds or something. I mean, look, ESG. You can call it whatever you want to call it. Millennials love it. They're buying it. They want it. It makes them feel better about their investing.
Isn't it proven to not even perform as well as the S&P though?
And the fees are higher. It's silly because a lot of the top 10 funds and a lot of these ESG funds are the top 10 funds in the S&P 500. So it's like Facebook, Apple. It's silly. Yeah. So you really, if you're going to invest ESG, you have to pay attention to the fund that you're investing in and make sure, because not all of them are bad and not all of them are crappy. You just have to pay attention to the holdings and make sure that it fits your morals or whatever it is you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, we want to incentivize companies doing right? Like, I don't know, something that stands out, like Nestle, right? Like what they do, taking over water rights. Like, I don't know if anybody includes them in ESG stuff. Hopefully not. But like, yeah, companies like that, we want to disincentivize behavior that ruins the world in any number of ways.
And it's funny because corporations know that ESG is important, and they're putting slides into their earnings releases that are outlining exactly how they fit into ESG for their investors.
Yeah.
So the companies are doing everything they can to be included in this ESG movement. So obviously there's something there.
Yeah.
And so if Tesla was concerned about that in any way, which is silly, they make EVs. Like, that's the most ESG thing you could possibly do.
Yeah.
How does that not outweigh you accepting Bitcoin or having Bitcoin on your balance sheet? I don't understand that at all. So to me, it's fishy and it makes no sense.
We saw a lot of companies, or not a lot. We saw obviously several high-profile companies, from MicroStrategy to Square to Tesla, put Bitcoin on their balance sheet early in 2021 or late 2020, and it made all these headlines, and it helped probably push Bitcoin to new highs. But I don't think that's necessary for Bitcoin to continue its longer-term upwards trend. Just having institutional investors getting more interested in Bitcoin and putting it into their investment funds, and family offices and wealthy people putting it on their own balance sheets, is enough institutional buy-in. I don't think you actually need companies that are other operating businesses to put it on their balance sheet for Bitcoin to succeed.
Oh, no, I don't think
great
so
point.
either.
Bitcoin was succeeding well before companies started
yeah.
doing that anyway.
Yeah.
There's only a few that have it on the balance sheet anyway.
Like, it helps, and it's good for headlines when you see X company buys 150 million, $500 million, or $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin. That helps, but it like you said, I agree. It's not necessary. It doesn't, Bitcoin would survive without it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I bet longer term, as a percentage of Bitcoin holders, corporations will be a very, very small piece of the overall pie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. Michael was saying a new KYC exchange is rumored to be a 0% taker maker model. So basically 0% fees with high liquidity. I was wondering if you all could elaborate on the implications it would have on trading in the markets. So that's an interesting thing. I don't know if an exchange says they're not going to charge fees, then they're either going to do what? Payment for order flow, like Robinhood, or they're going to be like the Forex brokers from a decade ago that were like, we don't charge commissions. And then their spreads are really big and they're doing funny stuff trading against you, right? So no company is going to operate with no profits, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. I mean, if they're trying to reduce fees to try to compress margins for like Coinbase and Binance, etc., that's one thing. But if they're going to come out and act like Robinhood and say we're not going to charge fees, they're going to make money somewhere. Where are you making money? That's the big question.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
All right.
How about we get an exchange that doesn't go down during high volume trading?
Exactly. I've complained about this no less than like a dozen times a year.
Yeah.
And every year nothing changes. You know, I don't know. Jesse with Kraken, dude, I love you, but what the man? Like, Coinbase, Brian, get it together, guys. I don't know. I've had the same complaint for 8 years. Why can't you guys make these trading platforms better? I don't get it. What do you think it is, Trav? Like, spin something up, man. Let's create an exchange, I guess.
Do they just need like more time?
No. I don't know.
And
They
more
have money. They have
volatile
time.
scenarios to happen for them to fine tune it.
They
like,
know what happens
every
when markets
30%
crash.
dip, like we get a little better, a little better. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just speculating.
It's bad.
It actually is in their interest to fix this problem too, because when they go down, not only are they losing trading revenue when they're down, but when it's in the midst of a market downturn, when it makes the price action much more severe, like we saw yesterday or this morning.
Oh yeah.
This could lead to a more prolonged either chop or bear cycle, and so that is ultimately going to hurt the exchange's profits. So, like Coinbase, that these cycles can be made worse by exchanges having problems. So fix your shit, and this will make future cycles smoother, you know?
Yeah.
Well, do you think people are going to roast Coinbase the way they roasted Robinhood when Robinhood went down for GME?
They should. I mean, I noticed Coinbase did get a lot of hate today, and they should. I mean, at this point, you're a publicly traded company.
Yep.
You have billions of dollars. You've been making money hand over fist for God knows how many years. Like, fix yo shit.
Yeah. Yeah, their margins are insanely high. It's like, okay, if it's going to cost you a couple $1,000,000 more to have some extra server capacity online at all times, why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
At this point, I used to brush off the theories that said it was intentional, but at this point, how is it not? Like, if the market's crashing and your order book thins up, Coinbase either steps in as the market maker and supports the order book, or they have to like pull the plug. I don't know. It's definitely fishy at this point.
Yeah, the questions definitely have to be raised.
Yeah. All right. We've been going for quite a while. Let's do a few more questions and then we will get out of here. Michael was asking, what can you do if an exchange decides to liquidate you or your trades 2 or 3 hours after they should have and you're still trading in profits? That sounds like you got margin called, but then it didn't. What happened? Yeah, you got margin called and then it didn't actually trigger closing the trade, and then it bounced and it was in profit, and then they closed it
When it was in profit.
Yeah. I don't know if there's anything you can do other than try to file a complaint, but I don't think that would do anything. I don't know. That just sounds like delays of
something
systems.
with the
Yeah.
brokerage.
Thoughts on the relationship between Bitcoin and alts, which bounces first? So here's how the typical capital flow works. Step 1, Bitcoin goes up. Step 2, Bitcoin pulls back, and some people take profit out of Bitcoin and take that and buy an alt. So it's like not everybody that buys Bitcoin will sell back into fiat, right? Like dollars, euro, yen. They'll buy an altcoin. So then you'll have a flood of larger cap altcoins that'll go up. And then people will start to hunt for growth on smaller and smaller and smaller cap to the point where the market cycle will develop to where people start creating copycat coins. And then people just start trying to get blood out of this stone. And then the market pulls back and wrecks people that haven't taken profit. It's every market cycle.
Rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
Rinse, repeat.
Rinse, repeat. Yep.
You can tell we're old buggers. We've been through a few cycles by now. We're like grumpy.
I'm just salty about so many things, but at the end of the day, I still want to help. Like I think we all have that in us, that it's like we know what it feels like to see people blow out their accounts, but we also know what it feels like to hear those stories of people that are like, yo, I've made millions and I started with nothing. Like I get so juiced from hearing that. Mm-hmm. And at this point, I mean, we've heard from, if not thousands, at least hundreds of people that are like, I'm a deca millionaire, I'm a multi-millionaire, I'm whatever, thanks to what you guys helped me do. So that gets me going every morning.
Yeah,
Same.
same.
Awesome. All right. You guys see any questions? This whiskey's starting to hit.
Did we have some submitted on the website last week?
Yes.
Okay.
We did have, Nikki, I saw you had a couple that we already answered.
We had a question. Oh, we got a question about if people should be putting their emergency fund on BlockFi. And
there was some news today about BlockFi where instead of doing payouts in dollars, they actually sent people like tons of Bitcoin.
yes, I saw that.
And then they sent like threatening letters like, if you don't send this Bitcoin back, we're going to sue you.
Oh, yes.
What a shitstorm.
Wow.
Somebody pressed the wrong button.
Yeah.
Wow. Imagine getting a few thousand BTC instead of
Right?
a few $1,000.
That would make somebody think like, okay, I don't know. What do I do here? Yeah.
And to that point, obviously, BlockFi is working out the kinks. And so would I put your entire emergency fund in BlockFi to earn interest? No, I would not. Your emergency fund needs to be safe. It needs to be somewhere where if something happened, you could get to it easily and you wouldn't have any issues. And BlockFi is not something I'd be risking your entire fund to
Yeah.
put.
Yeah. Your emergency fund, you want to be able to access for an emergency quickly, right?
Yeah.
Like,
You're not trying to reach for yield on your emergency fund.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you want to accept the loss of inflation
Yeah.
on your emergency fund.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
if you have money above and beyond that you're willing to risk, I mean, look, I know everyone's super happy about earning 10% interest or whatever when the high interest savings accounts are paying 30 basis points. It's ridiculous, right? Like, but you have to think of the risk that's on the table too with something this new.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's, and people are like, oh, well, it's getting put into a stable coin and it's the value isn't going to go down. And to that I say,
There is counterparty risk there.
exactly.
I give it a smaller probability that you're going to lose money. I don't know the guys personally, but I quote unquote loosely trust what they're doing. They're venture backed, but yeah,
It has
emergency
not
money.
been proven as a place to put your emergency fund yet.
Yeah, keep your emergency fund in physical cash or a checking account where if you have an emergency, you can get to it quickly.
Yeah.
Even I wouldn't keep emergency funds even in Bitcoin because you got to liquidate and then
Well, it's too
transfer the
volatile.
funds.
Don't do.
Exactly.
That's giving me a heart attack. Don't put your emergency fund in Bitcoin.
Yeah, accept inflation loss on whatever dollars or fiat you have in case you need a tire or a health emergency or something.
Yeah.
Any suggestion on where someone could go to learn how to read charts?
Yeah.
Yeah, come to our community.
Yeah.
WeTalkMoney.com/community.
I'm actually working on a technical analysis class for beginners for our community members.
Sweet.
So yeah, we've got some content already that's ready to look at if you want to learn how to read charts.
Awesome. Garg asks, which altcoin are you investing in for the long term? So I think about outside of Bitcoin, right? Like Bitcoin has its use case and its thesis. Ethereum has its use case and its thesis. Everything else, I look at venture risk, meaning startup company risk. I don't know which of these companies will be around in 5 or 10 years. My guess is that 95% of them will not exist, and I invest accordingly, right? So I trade the chart, I trade the hype. Like one example that I made a lot of money on was Link. Chainlink. We bought the breakout at $5, traded it up the first run. I recently took more profit on it around $50 or $45. But I'm going to hold a core position to that because I think it's interesting and it could succeed. But like at the end of the day, I don't know where any of this stuff is going to be 5 or 10 years from now. Most of them are going to evolve or change or die or whatever. So my primary goal is to trade altcoins to accumulate more Bitcoin or to accumulate more fiat that I can invest in things like Bitcoin and other non-crypto assets, stocks, real estate, venture stuff, right?
I think if you're thinking about altcoins for the long term as well, I think it's always interesting to go see what the crypto venture funds that are really smart and really good at what they do are looking at and investing in. Often those can be like leading indicators of what's to come in the next 3 to 5 years of crypto. So I don't know that many of them, but Multicoin, Pantera, Castle Island, these are venture funds that are focused specifically on crypto, and a lot of them actually put out public pieces, research pieces, and they'll put out press releases when they invest in early projects. And so
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think
You
those
can
are
ride the coattails.
That's right. So I think you can sometimes mine ideas in those places, and you might be a little early, but I think they often make interesting fundamental cases for some of these projects, as opposed to like the people that are just on YouTube pumping whatever third order Dogecoin fork or whatever, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's not the stuff that's probably going to make it longer term in terms of a real use case.
Yeah.
I would guess. I could be wrong.
No, it's a great point. I think that's a good point to like skip the due diligence that you need to do for startup investing. It's like that takes a ton of time. And if you're just a solo angel investor, good luck. That'll be a full-time job. Nikki, If you only have $10,000 in cash, what's the best way to invest it safely?
Well, I'm going to assume that the 10,000 in cash is after the emergency fund is in place. And the emergency fund covers, 3 to 6 months of expenses. If that's not covered, put that up aside, and then the rest, we're probably gonna have different strategies on this and thoughts, but
YOLO in Moon Coin or whatever the hell. Safe
I
Moon.
think when somebody is new starting out investing, the first step is you want to have a diversified portfolio.
I'm sorry, I can't stop laughing.
Okay, you want to have a diversified portfolio as a nice base.
All right, I think we've answered this like 5 times on the show. So what was our answer last time? It was, you've got to decide your risk tolerance, right? Like, do you want to go all in on something crazy, or do you want to diversify?
No, let me finish.
Yeah.
I was trying to say that my strategy is I think that you should start with something that's lower risk.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna do funds, do ETFs, right?
Yeah.
And you can diversify that across the stock market, across bonds, across real estate with REITs, things like that. Like that can be extremely diversified. And then from there, layer on the more, if you want a stock pick, if you want to invest in, crypto or whatever it is, that have your foundational layer of money that's set it and forget it, earning dividends, reinvesting. You don't have to worry about it. And then take a section of your capital that you want to be more active with or speculative with and buy your moon coins or whatever the hell you guys are laughing about, and go do that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's how I would approach it. What is so funny?
Just all the new scams out there. I don't know.
Stop Elon coin was up 500%.
Dogelon. Oh yeah, Stop Elon coin. I forgot about that one.
Yeah. The crypto community's pissed at Elon.
Yeah.
They created a coin.
Yeah, I love it.
Anywho, sorry for the distractions answering that question.
I'm sorry, I can't.
No, it's fine. It's
I can't
hilarious.
get Safe Moon and all this crap out of my head right now.
Someone said Nikki is a safe moon maximalist. Oh.
What do you think of decentralized crypto markets, especially after centralized market hiccups under stress resulting in the liquidation of people with long or short positions? Yeah, I mean, look, like decentralized exchanges, they have their own weaknesses too. Like they are not perfect. I think, God, I don't know. I'm just so irritated with the centralized exchanges. I'm like, yeah, we should not still be having these issues. But also, I mean, there's issues on the DEX side as well, especially on the Ethereum network with the fees. My God, they're crazy. We need ETH 2.0 ASAP.
Was Dex working this morning during the...
I mean, fees
down?
just went crazy. And I mean, there was definitely way higher levels of slippage on certain things. And yeah, I mean, I didn't take any trades on a decentralized exchange this morning, but I did look at some liquidity pools and stuff. And when weird things happen when the masses rush for the exit at the same time, right? Like imagine a movie theater or a sports arena and somebody screams fire or shoots a gun in the air and everybody runs for the exit. Weird things happen, right? People get trampled. People get slammed into walls. Like that's what happens in the markets too. People get trampled, systems shut down. Like, but by now the systems should be able to withstand that.
I remember back we've had a couple of flash crashes in the equities markets, and it happens occasionally in single stocks, but the big flash crash back in, I guess it was 2010. I remember watching the order book on S&P 500, the S&P 500 futures order book, and also I think some of the big stocks, like some of the big Dow stocks, I remember watching those order books just evaporate.
Yeah.
Within the span of 5 to 10 minutes, the order books were just gone.
Yep.
Like, we're talking about multi-hundreds of billions of dollars of, stock markets that just, like, disappeared.
Yeah.
It was the weirdest thing.
Yep.
And so in times of market stress, like even the biggest, most liquid markets in the world, you can watch the order books just, like, either the bid-ask spreads just get super wide, or, like, one side will just kind of disappear.
Yeah.
It's
we
wild.
we were in Argentina. Do you remember that? When the flash crash of 2010?
yeah.
Yeah, we were having coffee out in this like little plaza, and our buddy comes running out. The markets are doing something crazy. We run back in and then like turn on CNBC, and Kramer's like screaming. And yeah, the markets had dumped like, what was that? It was over 10%, which for the stock market was huge.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah, the overall
Intraday.
index is
huge.
I think we're down at 1.10% intraday, and
Yeah.
then rebounded rather quickly. I think ended the day down 3 or 4. But some of those stocks, I remember, like I want to say it was they had to cancel trades in a couple of the big Dow stocks because they went down like 98%. You know, essentially
Yeah.
there were trades that were done at like, you know, at $1 per share for a stock that had been previously trading at, you know, $40 a share or whatever. And so it was bizarre.
Yeah. Yeah, there were some great dip buy opportunities that day too. I didn't take any of them. Did you? Were you were working at the fund at that point?
Yeah, I
or-
was at the fund, and I think we did make a few trades in positions that we already had in the portfolio, and those weren't any of the ones that were down, you know, like 98% or whatever intraday, but there were some buying opportunities for sure in that moment. But some of those trades were canceled. Like I said, the really extreme moves, they actually canceled some trades, which is kind of wild.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So they
Like
pulled back the order?
The exchanges actually canceled, which is hard to do.
They like
because
took
there's a
your
lot of
order
record
and then canceled it.
they actually went back and nullified existing orders that
Whoa.
where people had like dip bought, like I think it was like PG&E or, you know, AT&T or whatever the stocks were. Like there were Dow components that were at one point down, like flash crash down like over 90% intraday.
Yeah.
And some people had put in bids, and those trades, they thought they made these amazing trades, and some of those trades actually ended up getting nullified after the fact by the exchanges, which was kind of crazy.
That's nuts.
Man. All right, we got a question. Marcel was asking, do you guys think that when the economy opens up after the pandemic and people might start to consume more, that crypto markets will go down, causing people to take profit from short-term investments? I don't know if those things are directly related.
I wouldn't say that they are.
Yeah.
If anything, if the economy's reopening, the inflation theory could be stronger if people are out spending money, hence wanting Bitcoin in their portfolio to
Yeah.
protect against inflation. I don't know. I don't know if I see the correlation there.
All right, here's another one. Matt was asking opinions on a potential stock market pullback. Any technical indicators that you guys use?
Yeah.
Market is in a pullback, especially the NASDAQ.
I'm locked in on the price action right now. I think that we're at a pivotal moment in the NASDAQ and the S&P 500.
Yeah.
I think that we could be putting in a lower high right now, and that's what I'm watching for. So basically, I'm watching to see if price continues lower to kind of confirm that lower high, or if price reverses back and breaks above that 13,500 kind of level in the NASDAQ.
Yeah, it
since
is
that
hugging the
pulled up.
100-period moving average.
Yeah.
And so what the NASDAQ was, 10%, 8% off of the all-time highs, and then it's been kind of hanging out here. Yeah, it's kind of like Bitcoin in a way where it was hugging that 100%, and so
Very
yeah.
similar price action in the NASDAQ looks more similar to Bitcoin than the S&P does, but
Yeah.
I do think that there's more downside in these indices personally.
Yeah.
And I'm watching, ready, locked and loaded.
Awesome. All right. Well, look, we've been going for over an hour and a half, so maybe we can do a quick recap for anybody that came in late, and then move on. So, Bitcoin today, believe it or not, was down a little bit. Yeah, no. So as of right now, Bitcoin's still hanging around that 200-period moving average. Had over a $13,000 trading range today. The daily candle is actually getting ready to close here, so we'll see where it closes. I bought the dip in the mid to low. Actually, I started buying around the 200-period moving average and then averaged down on that dip buy, or the dip this morning into the low 30K zone. And yeah, it'll be really, really interesting to see what happens over the next 24 to 48 hours. Either the 200-period holds and we go back up to retest 50K, which was prior support, now turned resistance, or we continue a slide, which if that happened, it would rip the faces off of all the stops in the market.
Oh, yeah.
And the next price level, believe it or not, is 20K. So in that event, yeah, that would be.
Are you backing up the truck at 20K?
Yeah, I would.
I would force you to back up the truck.
I would go panhandle on the side of the road and be like, need money for Bitcoin dips.
Yeah, that would be something.
Yeah.
I think you said it before, though. A lot of it depends on time frame. Like if it were to go to 20 tonight, you're buying the dip. If we end up in a
Slow bleed
and the structure's broken, then you're probably chilling. Right?
Yeah. It's all about the veracity of the panic, right? Over 30% in less than 3 days, I'm in. If it's a slow grind, that's like trying to catch I wouldn't even say like catching a falling knife. It's kind of like catching a slowly moving slinky down a stairway. It's like,
it's hinting that you could be going into a bear market.
yeah,
basically.
exactly. So yeah, the next few days are pivotal. I will be very active in the community over the next couple of days. Also maybe on Twitter. I don't know why I'm still on Twitter. I really hate Twitter, but I don't know. I just feel like maybe I have something to say and I can get it out on there.
I'm sure people find value in your tweets.
Maybe. Apparently, I don't know, all the Elon fanboys that attacked me about that tweet. Yeah. Good. Go away. If you're a cult follower and you don't see any wrong in what Elon does, then fine, go. Yeah. All right. So that's Bitcoin, also Ethereum, everything else. I'm feeling really good about my exit on Ethereum, but I didn't buy a dip here. I've still got a pretty sizable position in Ethereum that I'm happy with. But anytime I make a lot of money on a trade, like what just happened on Ethereum, I usually need a week or two just to decompress. Do you guys have that too? Like anytime you have like a big trade, it's like you just need to step back and chill for a while.
Yeah, I remember March last year, the whole month of March 2020 during that intense coronavirus-led sell-off. I just felt like I needed a break after that month was over.
Yeah.
And we didn't get much of a break until like the summer time frame, but yeah, that March and April time frame, it was just I was a little strung out there.
It was hard to keep up.
Yeah, I needed sleep and I was stressed and I was doing lots of research work and trying to figure out how to position the portfolio properly. And
yeah. And I mean, looking back, like that was a scary time with the pandemic. Like things are going into lockdown.
I was going to say, we were like trying to figure out buying stocks, trying to figure out is the stock market going to keep tumbling here after being down so much? There was a lot to juggle.
Well, thankfully, Daddy Fed printed $5 trillion to pump our equity assets.
That's right. That's right. But yeah, I mean, don't feel bad for, playing some video games or like sleeping in a little after a hard day or two or a week of, crazy market environments. Like you need that.
Everybody needs
Have
that.
a glass of wine, whatever it is that you
drink lots of whiskey on a podcast show where you're talking about finance.
Don't feel guilty for taking that self-care time after a crazy couple of days in the markets.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And now I am burning off the COVID weight. I'm down over 5 pounds over the past week, which is crazy. The first week is always the most dramatic drop. And I've got 16 more weeks until I hit my goal.
Well, hey, that is an impressive first week or first couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So
appreciate it. Yeah. Hopefully my knee doesn't give out on me. I'm old now, man.
I feel you, man.
Yeah, I feel that.
Oh, man. All right, guys. Well, thank you all so much for being here. I hope you got some value and maybe had some fun today. What else do you guys want to say before we wrap it up?
If you're feeling emotional, I have a whole course that teaches you how to plan out your trades and not be as emotional in the community. So check out the community if you want to get access to that. If you're feeling a little down.
Yep.
What else?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's so many good lessons from the past couple of days and weeks. I mean, if anybody's new to crypto, just go watch some of our prior shows from the past couple of months where we basically anticipated what is happening now. And if you got wrecked recently, it's okay. We've all been there. Like, there's always another opportunity. There's always another trade. Even if you got taken out of the game or liquidated, you can always come back. The worst thing you could do is give up completely. So, you know, we make a lot of jokes and stuff on here, and I just want to like just encourage you guys. Like, you can do this. You can build wealth. You just got to stick with it. Like in high school and like my late teens, like I blew out several trading accounts. But if you stick with it and you start to develop your skill set and the skill stack of an investor and a trader over time, you will become wealthy. It's just a matter of time. Like, there's no guarantees in the markets, obviously, but if you stick with it long enough, you're going to dramatically put the odds in your favor. Trav, what would you have to say about that? Somebody that, like, you know, you have an interesting background, obviously, that a lot of people don't. What encouragement would you give people that are, say, brand new to the markets?
I mean, you said it, really. It's like if you commit to actually learning and trying to find your edge, there's so many ways to make money in the markets, you know, especially coming from the institutional investing side. There's so many specialized funds that do a very specific thing or focus on a very specific market or trading a very specific asset, and they can all be very successful. We have, you know, hundreds of funds that manage billions and billions of dollars on the institutional side. So just, yeah, try to find what works for you, find your edge, try to overcome the limitations that are holding you back. And if you just keep working at like getting better at it, you'll get there. It's like you said. So
yeah, just be patient, man, because I don't know. I've seen in our community, right? We have at this point thousands of people that have been through that have made life-changing amounts of money. And the ones that I see that do the best are the ones that don't put a time limit on their success. You know, people that come in and they're like hyperactive and they're like, I got to make a shit ton of money now. Mm-hmm. Those people usually pop and flop. You know, they get overexcited during the bull markets and they give up when things pull back. But the people that are in it for the long haul, those are the ones that make real wealth. Where they send the pictures of the new house or the account that I'm like, wow, like that's what I live for. So
yeah, if you're willing to get rich over 10 years rather than trying to get rich in 10 minutes, then I think you'll get there. I'm fairly confident most people can get there in a decade or two, but if you're trying to do it in 10 minutes, unlikely.
Persistence and discipline.
Yeah, and we are living in a gifted time where we have Bitcoin and crypto in general, which is, you know, Bitcoin's been growing at 200% on average since its inception. Will that continue? I don't know, but I think so.
Well,
you know?
I mean, it may not, though. Naturally, things that are growing at high rates, they start to kind of grow at lower
returns
rates.
will normalize.
They will normalize, yes.
But the good thing is the volatility, you can juice that. You can make more than 200% a year if you are active and you know what you're doing and you're on the right side of the market.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, to your point about diversification, it's like I don't have my entire net wealth in crypto. I also like to be active in stocks and passive in stocks and have venture and have real estate, right? Like it reduces the mental burden of pullbacks if you are properly diversified. Mm-hmm. Look, I have a lot of, I guess, respect for people that are like, I have 98% of my wealth in crypto. And I'm like, I'm a crypto OG and I could never do that. Like, I believe in it. I was one of the early guys and I still can't do that. Call me a wimp. I don't know. I just if I lose 80 to 90% of my net wealth in a year, even if it's temporary, that is unmanageable for me. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't know many people that can stomach that and hold through the lows and not capitulate at the lows. So.
Not many.
If you did that, let me know. I'll give you kudos.
I mean, I'm sure. I'm sure there are people that sat through a 90% pullback in their all of their net worth, and then boom, held through 2017 and just hodled it out.
Yeah, I mean, even in 2013, you know, my first blog post about Bitcoin was like calling it a bubble in late 2013, and like. I got a lot of hate for that, but you know, the same people that were hating were probably the same people that capitulated in early 2015. So Yeah.
I like what you said at the beginning of the show about Bitcoin being on sale, right? Reframing some of these massive corrections as an opportunity, especially if you have excess capital or you were selling some along the way. We do the same thing in stocks. Like I tell people, I actually love when the market takes a big dump, because those are the times when I get to accumulate positions that will enable me to get the gains later, right? So,
Hell yeah.
Especially for younger investors, things being on sale is wonderful.
Yes.
You should welcome it, and to some extent.
Yeah, reprogram your mind. Get excited when prices go down. If it helps, like I've actually thought about doing this. I used to do this when I was day trading futures, which I haven't done in a long, long, long time. But I changed the color of the price bars to like either different shades of gray or something where it's not like green and red, because red is it's an emotional color.
Yeah.
Like I think there have been studies about this where like they've messed with people in insane asylums and like painted the walls red, and it changes your mood, right?
Oh, yeah.
So if you see a big red candle, if that affects you emotionally, maybe tweak the colors.
Was the color pink? Was it a pink candle you had?
What
for
do you
the
mean?
red one for the futures charts. I'm trying to remember.
Oh, yeah, we messed with a bunch of them, but
Yeah.
I enjoyed getting rid of the colors altogether and just having very monotone colors on the chart and just not thinking like up green equals good, down red equals bad. You've got to break that association of emotion to the candlestick. I don't really have it anymore because I'm a salty old guy, but but if somebody's new to the markets and sometimes you look at a price chart and it looks like somebody threw spaghetti against a wall and you're like, I don't know what to make of this.
Yeah.
If that's somebody listening to this, remove the colors and maybe that'll help. I don't know.
Or they're too zoomed in on time frame. I notice that with newbies a lot. They're
Yeah.
like looking at 2-minute, 5-minute charts, 60-minute charts. Like zoom out, get daily charts as your daily driver first.
Yes.
And then zoom in when you need to
Yeah.
instead.
Dude, I keep TA, technical analysis, I keep it so simple. Daily chart, hourly chart. The only indicators I use, price action, volume, 2 moving averages, 100 period, 200. And then I use, obviously, like trend lines and dynamic drawings. And then fib retracements and extensions.
Yep.
That's it. I look at some people on Twitter that post like all these indicators and oscillators, and that there's no edge in that. It's not going to add value to your trading strategy.
Well, it just may cause paralysis by analysis at that point. When sometimes the naked price action is all you really need.
Yeah.
But they have such cool names like Ichimoku Cloud. And
Ichimoku Cloud.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I'm
Is that
saying
a
that
real
right.
one?
I'm pretty sure that's a real
Did you
one.
just make that up?
I've
You know
seen
what's
that
funny,
somewhere.
Trav? You've made millions without even really knowing TA.
He's gonna know TA though.
Yeah, actually, Nick's
When I get done with him,
is
he'll know
teaching me.
TA.
Yeah.
It's good because I would like to add some TA to the skill
If
stack.
you add TA to your skill stack, you will be unstoppable.
Yeah, well, that's why I always ask you. I'm like, Nick, what's up?
You
with
got to
chart?
document that on your Stock Geek TV YouTube channel.
That is a great point.
Learning technical analysis.
Yeah, the hedge fund guy learns TA. I like that.
Awesome.
Love it.
All right. Well, look, guys, we'll go ahead and wrap it up there. Thank you all so much for being here live or listening to it after the fact. You can submit a question for the show at wetalkmoney.com, or if you want to join our community, wetalkmoney.com/community. And what else? What am I missing? Thanks to Y Charts for sponsoring the show.
If
And
you got a question, submit it on wetalkmoney.com.
yep.
And give us a review, 5-star preferred on podcasts. Anywhere you listen to your podcasts.
Yes. And if you have a good whiskey recommendation, let me know. Maybe I'll pull it up on the next show.
Oh.
Remember
join
when
you
we were
next
doing
time.
Whiskey and Wisdoms and then we had this show? I'm like, let's just merge those.
I don't
love
know,
it.
dude. I guess I would love to hear from people. Would you like to see us do this show with whiskeys and wine instead
Yes.
of completely
How
stone sober?
how buzzed do you want us
Yeah,
on
I
a scale
mean-
of 0 to passing out?
Because we'll do it. I mean, if you want it, we'll do it.
There's some great content that comes in the sweet spot there in the middle between no drinks and too many drinks.
We may get
Yes.
on some rants for sure, but
Rants are the best.
I do that anyway, so I don't know. After a couple whiskeys, that could get dangerous.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anywho, yes, thank you.
All right,
watching.
guys. Thank y'all so much. We will see you next week. Stay safe out there. Holler if you have any questions. We'll see you in the community or on Twitter or in the cyberspace somewhere. See ya.